Last time the Corrupted was around as a GM Nightfall experience was Season 11, and it was by far the most challenging GM that we had experienced. This time around, I would put it in the same tier as something like Hollowed Lair, challenging but actually pretty fun once you get to know it. So what are you going to need this time around? You're going to need Overload and Unstoppable, and you're going to need all three elements. There's a ton of Void Shields in here, a good amount of Solar, and a few Arc that you're going to need to deal with. This is not a strike where you can ignore shields or brute force them down in like, you know, Lake of Shadows with the arc shields or something like that. You're gonna want to have every element. So what kind of weapons we bring in? A lot of people are gonna say Le Monarch, Ticus, etc. The issue I take with those weapons is that they take up a slot where a fusion rifle can go. It means no Cartesian, Made Ingredient, no Composure, Lorentz Driver, Vex Mythoclast. Your kinetic slot can't hold a fusion either. On one run that I did, we had one person on Ticus and they used a blinding grenade launcher in that kinetic slot with a Tarantula linear fusion to have arc damage. They were pretty much all utility, but you know, we got the clear pretty quickly, so it's not like it's a terrible idea. Le Monarch is going to be a beast here for all of the Void Shields on top of all of the overloads. Just know that you'll need to make a sacrifice to keep it in your loadout. I was using Lorentz Driver, and given how many Void Shields there are and how many adds there are that will bunch up in this place, I wholeheartedly recommend it for the crowd control and the bonus explosion damage. You could also opt for Ager's Scepter, which will be huge in the elevator room, good in the double Ogre boss room, and huge for the final boss encounter. You're going to want some form of crowd control for these areas. Ager's is probably the best because it's a gun, it's not a super. Other good weapons continue to be all of the weapons that I mentioned every single video. Vex Mythoclast, most fusion rifles, most linear fusion rifles. Vex is just good because of its raw damage output and its linear fusion burst capabilities. Oh, and make sure you throw on Taken Spec onto every weapon that you can. We did a run with Divinity as well, and it worked out like pretty good. Just don't use it on the final boss because your damage will actually decrease versus just going for headshots without Divinity. That being said, it's not mandatory at all if you don't want to run it. Subclasses. My first clear was with 2 Nightstalkers and a middle tree Sentinel, which doesn't sound great. We did not have a Well of Radiance, but it never really felt like a huge hindrance. The main part where we missed out on having Well was probably the final boss room, but with multiple tethers and our crowd control capabilities, we handled it pretty well, to the point where if I had the choice of bringing 2 wells or 2 tethers, I think I might take 2 tethers, or at least one of each. The only other spot you may potentially want a well is in the elevator. Now, I'm not saying, you know, go into this place without a Well of Radiance, but I am saying that it's not as mandatory as you might think. Again, crowd control is going to be really clutch here, and if your team works better with like a Stasis Warlock on Ager Scepter, do it. Just do that. You will still absolutely die through a well here. There's enough damage to kill you through a well. Hunters, that being said, Shadow Shot is basically too good to pass up for this place. You have to go out of your way to have a bad tether. Titans, I would probably stick to Banner Shield as an oh crap button and to have chaining explosions on your grenade. But if you wanted to try Bottom Tree Sunbreaker, I would understand. I think Titans are probably the weakest class for this place. Mod-wise, your typical mods are going to work. I ran with 1 Arc Resist and 1 Concussive Dampener on one run, and then double Arc Resist on another. I don't think you really need the Dampener. I wasn't really getting destroyed at long range. I was avoiding boomer shots. Double Elemental Resist will probably just get the job done. You got Protective Light, Well mods, whatever you want here will be fine. Play defensive if it's your first time through. You may want to run with Aeons or Special Ammo Finisher at the least, as this strike has a lot of trash to kill, it has a lot of high health targets, there are a good amount of champions, and you're going to want a steady flow of ammo. If you find yourself having ammo problems, then I would definitely invest into at least one of them, preferably both. Alright, let's get in there. Right off the bat, you're literally greeted with an Overload Chieftain here. Just burst it down immediately, just get rid of it ASAP. Now you got 2 options here, going across the bridge as normal, or hanging a right and going all the way around next to the boss. When executed well, going around can be a lot faster as the enemies will funnel towards you, but you may get annoyed with the Overload Hobs and the Vandal Snipers. They can be kind of tough to see and pretty far away. This area has a ton of taken acolytes with void shields, a small amount of scorn enemies, and then those hobs and snipers. I found overload hobs in this strike to be some of the least threatening champions that I've ever fought in a GM, minus when they're doing their chain retaliation blast. That's because they're using these slow firing stasis guns, and they're just not really threatening, like, at all. So don't worry about them too much, again, besides the retaliation blast. Otherwise, regardless of the direction you went, be ready for a second wave of enemies by the boss. Taking acolytes, 2 more sniper vandals, and I want to say that's it. I think it's 2 overloads total here. The transition area to the elevator isn't too bad, but you'll want to crowd control some of these minotaurs, and by crowd control I mean kill, as their guns hurt really badly. You can also ignore all of the trash in the pit. There's no champions anywhere in this section. If you have the ability to, I would highly recommend just invising past all of this garbage. Make your team invis and just run past it. Otherwise, take it a little slow because the taken minotaurs hurt really bad. Kill one of them ASAP to give yourself some space. The elevator room is the first hurdle you're going to need to jump in this place. This will definitely be a wipe zone for a lot of teams. As you enter, there should be 1 scion left, 1 scion right. Sometimes there's 2 on the right. Kill them before they hit the fat John Travolta and start multiplying. Otherwise, you're just going to die before you even start. If you have something like Ager's Scepter here, you're not really going to need to pre-charge more orbs than 1 or 2, because the scions are not going to be a huge factor in taking the orbs aggro as you throw it. If you don't have Agers, that's when I would pre-charge some orbs. Their duration is pretty short when you drop them on the ground, so you won't be able to throw a ton, but it should be enough to give you a little bit of a boost. After you've stacked a few, hack the terminal and begin the encounter. You're going to have a wave of scions and then 3 shielded enemies. Not the worst idea to toss an extra orb or 2 at the scions to get rid of something, but the goal here is to shred the shields off these shielded enemies ASAP. Kite around the area as much as you need to in order to kill everything. Now, my team left 1 enemy alive and then got into position to charge a few more orbs again. We then killed that enemy and got like 2 to 4 orbs charged up for the next wave. The next wave is more or less the same, but the shielded targets have more health, and the center of the elevator is a death trap, and even around the ring, there's a bunch of damage zones. Don't be afraid to burn a super here if you need it, especially on the scions, because allowing them to multiply will mean your death. If you get the opportunity to kill something, you should take it, but prioritize scions. This might take a couple of attempts to really get down. Don't feel bad if you die here. After the elevator, you're going to have an unstoppable ogre, 2 arc shielded knights, some acolytes, and a shrieker in front of you. The knights will leave to the next room if you kill the unstoppable ogre first. Nothing too complicated here, just kill stuff, move on. Going down this path has more shriekers, more knights. Just take your time here, kill stuff, use some finishers, try to get your ammo up. Okay, so you've made it to the double ogre boss room where you get teleported back and forth. There's a few ways to handle this, but I'm just going to tell you what worked for my team. It was a little slow, but we're about completions here, not speed running. Our team sat up top on the right. The goal here is to ping pong back and forth between dimensions and just kill ads. On the Hive side, you're going to have acolytes, knights with arc shields, and 1 unstoppable ogre. On the other side, you're going to have acolytes with void shields, knights with solar shields, and 2 unstoppable phalanx. Your goal here, your first goal, is to kill all of the trash. Don't bother with boss damage at all until everything is dead, including the champions. Stay back, use the stairs as a funnel, and just kill things as they come up the stairs. Be aware of enemies coming across the bridge as well. That can happen. This is not something you need to rush at all. Keep tabs on your ammo, as this is a very ammo-intense fight. You will eventually run out, and you will eventually need to go find some more. Also be aware that enemies can roam in their respective dimensions regardless of if you're there or not. We had a couple of times where there was an acolyte behind us or a champion in our face. Just be in a safe position as you transition. Once all enemies are dead, that's when you can start boss damage on both of the ogres. At 50% health on both ogres, you will spawn more ads, and you're just going to rinse repeat what you did with that first wave. Killing the Hive ogre first will prevent a wave of Hive melee knights and thrall from spawning. Definitely suggest doing that. Kill the Hive boss first. You will also have Shriekers spawn on the Taken side, but that's nothing new. Once you get rid of these ad waves, that's when you can kill the bosses. There are no champions in these second waves. No reason to, have to go super speed for this at all. Just kill everything, play it safe. While there is a time limit of 45 minutes before you lose your revives, my team did this strat and had plenty of time at the end. As long as you're actively killing adds every teleport, you won't have much of an issue. You don't need to split up, just focus fire everything down. Here's some footage of us doing just that. Add situation.
Didn't we get ads?
Yeah, we did.
Oh yeah, we did. Okay, there they are.
There you go. Couple Solar Knights.
Yep.
Nice kills. Oh, I just got that Knight before we teleported. I'm just gonna plank. I'm gonna conserve ammo.
Mm-hmm.
Always one. Oh, he jumped down. What a prick.
What a coward. I respect it though. I would have done the same thing.
I don't think we have anything else up here. So we can kill this dude.
Acolytes?
Where? Oh, and Acolyte. Huge shot by me.
I don't have a...
Yeah, I got you.
Another one. Oh god.
Okay.
Huge. Please tell me you were going for the Acolyte that was there previously and shot.
No, I wasn't.
You could have said yes.
I know, but I didn't want to be a liar. Now, technically speaking, there isn't much stopping you from simply nuking all of the champions and then nuking the bosses, ignoring all of the adds completely. But if this isn't executed perfectly on that first try, you're just going to need to kill a bunch of adds anyway because the Boomer Knights are going to destroy you from that bridge. You could also just straight up wipe trying to do it. If it's your first time, I would just take it slow and kill the adds, get used to this place first, and then if you want to try more advanced things, you can go try that. Also, keep in mind, if you're the final person in the Ascendant realm and you die, maybe to like a Shrieker or something, you cannot be revived. Your team will have to duo their way to the boss where you will then be dragged forward and they can revive you after the fight starts. After the Ogres, you'll head into the next section, which has 6 champions, and while that sounds awful, it's really not that bad at all. 2 Phalanx at the start, which you can peel away from the Thrall, then you got 2 more in the middle of the bridge, and then you got 2 Overload Hobs on the left and right at the end. This is not a threatening area whatsoever. This should be pretty smooth sailing. Just be aware of taking Acolytes on the outer edges of this area. You can kill them very easily with a linear fusion, provided you rip those Void shields off. Also be aware that apparently one of these first Phalanx can get stuck inside of the door and kind of wedge itself. This will result in either it teleporting away or just disappearing completely, which will prevent a platinum run. So try to kill that one first. Also, there's a bunch of Thrall in here, not really a big deal. You can also skip this mini boss at the end. You can't hit it with a finisher, and it does not need to die to progress. It's just a big ammo sink that you could probably just ignore. Next, we come to the big jump. I do not change anything about how I do this in the Strike playlist. I just jump straight down. There will be ogres here. You can ignore them. If you really want to play it safe and platform hop, you can do that. I personally just shoot it straight down the middle. The only way you die here is if you don't adjust to the spinning balls about 25% of the way down, which shouldn't really be a huge deal. Have your least confident jumper go first. We didn't have any res problems, but depending on who dies where and who makes it through, again, there's potential for some very annoying res situations where you may need to carry on with 2, or worse, 1 player. This next section is also pretty simple. Taking Acolytes, some Thrall. You can snipe these Minotaurs from up on the platform before you jump down. Just kind of plink away at them. And then you'll have an Overload Hob and a Vandal Sniper, and then another Overload Hob and another Vandal Sniper, and then it's boss time. Now, before I start this section, I will say that it is completely possible with a well-coordinated group and with some good shots to burst this boss down from 100 to 0 in a few seconds because of her low health. You need Well of Radiance, Linear Fusions, Focusing Lens, Damage Supers if you got them, but even that you can kind of skip. If you have the ability to try this in your run, there's absolutely no harm in trying it out. You're going to want to head to where the portal will spawn after you killed 2 waves of adds, pop the well, throw a stasis nade, and just spam the crap out of the boss. Worst case scenario, you just do the rest of the fight. Second best case scenario is that you open the portal early and you can skip a bunch of trash. I'm still going to cover the entire fight though, but That is an option, and if you have the ability to do it, I really encourage it. My team stood in the middle behind the stairs using the crystals for cover. Note that you do have the ability to retreat farther back if you get into trouble. When the boss spawns in, you'll have a wave of adds on the right side, mostly orange bar scions with 2 or 3 solar shielded knights thrown in. I think it's 2. Do whatever you can to kill stuff before they jump to the center, and then after they jump to the center, lay on the hurt. Crowd control, Ager Scepter, Lorentz Driver, Ticus, Trinity Ghoul if you're wearing that, grenades, supers, all that stuff. This first wave isn't too bad, and I wouldn't pop supers unless you really need it. My team had 2 tethers on this run, so we were able to gen a lot of orbs, which means we could spam supers as much as we wanted. We're not touching the boss until the adds are dead. After the adds are dead, you're going to grab a ball, charge it, yeet it at the boss, and now there's going to be another wave of adds spawning, same exact wave. Don't touch the boss until these adds are dead. When you get the boss to 66% health, she will teleport to the other side, and after a brief time, will spawn another wave of adds. This time, it's coming from both sides. The right side will spawn the exact same thing, orange bar scions and red bar knights. The left side spawns red bar scions, and I believe some knights as well. This is where you're going to want a super for sure. As you're seeing here, a tether is amazing. You will also have to watch for the boss booping you. Just be aware of that. If you need to get out of this position for whatever reason, the right side platform should be wide open after all the adds jump to the middle, or you can just jump to the platform behind you. You'll have a ton of space to move around. Use it if necessary. After all the adds are dead, charge and yeet another ball at the boss to spawn another wave of adds, only the right side this time, same set of adds. Kill them, and then shoot the boss. At 50% health, the boss teleports away, and the chase begins. Now, if you tried bursting the boss, but only got her to like 50% or somewhere in between 0 and 50, then the portal will spawn in after a brief time, but adds are also going to show up. Assuming you're in a well, you can just kind of shoot at stuff until the portal pops, but if you need to hide or run around, just do that. Get in the portal as soon as possible. The gauntlet to the boss should not be that big of a deal. Kill stuff from a distance if possible. There's no need to put yourself in danger. Kill knights first because of the fire, and because that'll get the boss to go away. You'll have a few champs to kill on your way up, but this should not really be the hard part. As you jump onto the final platform where the boss is, the boss will aggressively try to boop you off. Use cover to negate some of this push. If you get knocked into the air and then get booped, there's a very high chance that you're just dead. So you need to be aware of who the boss is going to push to try to avoid it. Being airborne in general is just a very bad idea, as you'll likely see in this footage. Try to keep your feet on the ground as much as possible, as a boop while your feet are on the ground, a boop horizontally, will do close to nothing. The fight starts with 6 scions spawning in, 2 groups of 3, kill them immediately, and then start working on the boss. On the first shield break, 2 taken captains will spawn in close to the first ball location. Take out their solar shields and get rid of them unless you're really confident in your ability to kill the boss immediately. After dealing more damage, she'll get another shield back, and more scions are going to show up, get rid of them, and continue your damage. Charge another ball, yeet it at the boss, and you should just be able to burst her down from here pretty easily. Just be aware that another taken captain will spawn in if you're going too slow. This part of the fight was about 2 minutes long for my team in this clear. In another clear that I did, it was less than a minute because we were able to straight up kill the boss before that second shield came up. Slow and steady, guys. I will say that this is one of the few Nightfalls that may push into that 45-minute range for some teams. So while you can go pretty slowly, you're not going to want to go so slow that you're losing all of your revives by the time you're fighting the final boss. The elevator section will probably trip some people up more than the double ogre section. It can get pretty dicey in there if someone goes down or you don't get those shield breaks. Just practice, prioritize killing scions as much as possible, figure out what's working, what isn't, change up your loadout if you need to. Just experiment if you need to. Good luck in there. Thanks for watching. I will see you next time.